Hey, this is Roy Furr, and today what I wanted to do is something a little bit different from my regular daily issues of Breakthrough Marketing Secrets. I have a copywriter that I've been doing a little bit of side stuff with, and he's fairly new into copywriting as a career opportunity, but has a lot of experience in marketing and running his own business. And he did the AWAI restaurant letter as a way to just bolster his copywriting skills. And he asked me to take a look at it and see if I had any thoughts. And I asked his permission to keep him anonymous, but to be able to actually go through his letter here as a video review and use that as a piece of content. That way I can give him the value of the review. I can spend more time with it, with the copy, and actually looking at ways to improve it. And I get a great piece of content that I think that you'll find valuable as a Breakthrough Marketing Secrets reader. So what I'm going to do first here is I'm going to read through this letter, and frankly, it's pretty good as is. I definitely have some ways to improve it and some important questions to ask. But I'm going to go through this as is and read it to you, and then I'm going to come back and address the questions that I've written down here in my notes. So we'll start with the headline. Join me for the best pizza you'll ever eat this Saturday night at Barone's famous Italian restaurant. On me. Joe, you keep telling me that there's no place for Italian food near you that has great food, service, and ambience. Not true. I know you've never been to Barone's famous Italian, and I apologize if I'm slaughtering the pronunciation here. If that's an Italian name, it could just be over my head in terms of what the appropriate pronunciation is. So I know that you've never been to Barone's famous Italian, but you will never taste better pizza anytime, any place, anywhere. Pizza or shoes for dinner. If Barone's pizza isn't the best pizza you've ever had, in the immortal words of your grandfather, I'll eat your shoes and the rest of your pizza. I should know I'm a member of this Italian family that brought authentic Neapolitan pizza from New York to Los Angeles in 1945, and Barone's is still serving the same pizza today, and it will leave you speechless. Just the beginning. I'm going to tell you about the restaurant and the food you will find today, 70 years later, but I'm ahead of myself. First, I want to tell you how it all started, so please indulge me. After World War II, a family of Arpaias and Barones, three first-generation Italian brothers and four Italian sisters, along with spouses and young children, moved from New York to California. They brought with them the treasured Italian family recipe for square, thin-crust, authentic Neapolitan pizza. Their parents were from a small town outside of Naples called Arpaia. They were my grandparents, and you see, one of those sisters, Rose, was my mother. They pooled together their money from savings that the brothers had stashed from the war, all Army Air Corps, and that the sisters made from working in the war effort at home, and opened a small Italian restaurant in the San Fernando Valley at the edge of a cornfield called Pete's Corn. I lived in the back of that restaurant. Then in 1951, as Barone's was being discovered, they moved the restaurant to a larger location about 4 blocks east on the main boulevard. At that time, the SFV was a group of small towns, cornfields, and orchards connected by a main boulevard, Ventura Boulevard. It was beautiful then, and Barone's became an outlying destination for film and music industry people, famous athletes, businessmen, politicians, and Italian food lovers all over LA. If those walls could talk. Many evenings as a young boy, I would enter the restaurant to find the likes of Stan Laurel, Bob Hope, Debbie Reynolds, and many other well-known celebrities in the bar. This was the cocktail society in those years. The LA Rams football team also hung out there. Romances began and hearts were broken, and many business and political deals that were made there that had an impact on the growth of the valley in Los Angeles. It looked, smelled, and sounded and tasted very Italian. There was a separate bar and dining room where families and youngsters, teenagers, newlyweds, and grandparents all sat together at long tables, laughing, joking, and good-natured kidding, and sometimes loudly disagreeing. Italians, after all. This was truly a family restaurant in every sense of the word. Even the staff was like family. Some were with the restaurant for 40 or more years. The interior decor was red vinyl booths, genuine rich wood wall paneling, carpeted floors, linen tablecloths and napkins, and soft lighting. The game was on TV in the bar while Sinatra, Darren, or Dean Martin played in the dining room. There was a full menu with seafood, chops, steak, and glorious pasta dishes prepared in the old world style. Before you ever entered the double wooden front doors, your mouth would be watering because you could smell the sauce simmering and the dough baking all the way down the street and into the parking lot, especially on a warm summer evening. Hot Italian bread and butter greeted every patron as soon as they were seated. You could not help it if a soft escaped your lips as you settled into a plush booth. And here you would be served the proprietary family recipe for Barone's pizza, Barone's Italian salad dressing from an original protected recipe, and Aunt Katie's homemade cheesecake. Absolute perfection. What about today? Okay, enough history lesson. You get the idea. What does this have to do with today, you ask? Everything. The restaurant and dining experience have stayed true to the picture I just painted, and is the one you will experience when you go on Saturday evening. This is a landmark restaurant I just described. Because the restaurant has stayed in the family and is now owned and operated by Tom, the son of one of the founders, they've all since passed on. Many of the original fixtures and paintings are still in place. The booths and chairs are luxurious red vinyl and leather still. The kitchen is now state-of-the-art stainless steel with new ovens and increased serving capacity. But the pizza is the very same recipe and ingredients as 70 years ago, and the dining experience is the same one today. The dough and sauce are still made fresh daily as it was then. The menu still contains all the original items, and Tom has added some new selections. And he's also added great live entertainment with standards, jazz, swing, R&B, and Latin on certain evenings, including this Saturday evening. There are currently 110 menu items to choose from, not including endless pizza combinations, nightly specials, and beverages. Food quality is tops, and the produce is the freshest market picks. Seafood is brought in fresh daily, much locally wild caught. Meats are either prime or choice grade and can be grass-fed when available. Poultry is grade A free range, delicious food, and good for you too. Here are a few selected menu items to whet your appetite. Appetizer, sautéed artichoke hearts, slightly breaded, sautéed in lemon, butter, wine, garlic, and herbs. Salad, Barone's Italian salad, enough for two. Crisp, fresh greens topped with tomato wedges, black olives, pepperoncini, garbanzos, and scallions, served with our famous Italian dressing. Side, garlic toast, made on a round rustique artisan roll. From the broiler, our famous premium choice New York pepper steak, pounded with cracked pepper, charbroiled, topped with sautéed mushrooms, green onions, and bacon bits and brandy sauce. Veal, veal francaise, again, sorry for my horrible pronunciation, dipped in egg, sautéed in lemon, wine and spices, chicken, and so on. Continuing on after the menu items. What did Frank Sinatra know anyway? At this point, you're probably thinking, I can make any outrageous claim I want since I'm part of the original family and biased. Maybe, but consider this. Barone's is still here and thriving after 70 years. Need more proof? Then, the best Italian restaurant in the valley, Frank Sinatra. Wonderful food and great cocktails, Jane Russell. This pizza is addicting, Stan Laurel. Now, everything was right about this place, Rebecca O'Donnell. Amazing restaurant, and I love the pizza and everything else. Everything's good there, and the service, I'm speechless. Melvin Lorch. Everything. It's like New York Italian food. Elizabeth Reagan. Well, when I first went there, I was 3, and let me tell you all something. I just kept coming back. My mother said all I wanted was Barones and Barones and Barones. Danielle Jones. Needless to say, I could go on with this for days. What more can I say? Joe, it's time we quit talking about it and have the Barones experience. The owner, Tom, has reserved a table for us on Saturday night. Indea, Karen Hernandez, and Billy Paul are doing standards, R&B, jazz, and blues, and we have a VIP table. I'll come by for you at 7, so bring your best appetite, perhaps your new Baroni jacket, and be prepared to be amazed. What's the catch? None. The proof is in the pizza. Your Italian pal, Rich. P.S. And consider that, because Barone's is close to you, you will now have a great restaurant to take business associates and clients to for lunch and dinner and for dates. You will know the owner and get individual attention on a first-name basis, and if she didn't already know about it, your date will thank you for your great taste. Okay, so that's the letter, and I'm going to start at the top again, and just I'm going to make some comments first off on what I think that this letter gets right. So join me for the best pizza you'll ever eat this Saturday night at Barone's famous Italian restaurant on me. That's certainly a compelling idea right there. Free pizza on Saturday night. Okay. And it's great. There's a deadline there, which should help with response. But then I get into, let's see. There's certainly some character to this. I'm going to continue on with the positives for another minute. There's some character to this. The I'll eat your shoes and the rest of your pizza. It certainly feels like a personal and unique letter. The fact that there's knowledge of the restaurant's history, that he lived there, even if he's not the guy running it right now. I love kind of the feeling that, okay, this was like a meeting place for high society in LA. I think that's certainly interesting. You get a feel for kind of the activity of the place in this historical description, and the great thing that does is it kind of puts the prospect there. So these things are good. This is an interesting kind of mechanism where he starts off, the writer starts off here about the historical aspect of the restaurant, and then brings you forward to today and says basically, hey, everything's the same now. It's the same but better. The inclusion of a bunch of menu items further down in the letter here it's also I think a nice play in terms of selling a restaurant experience. Now there is a question that this raises in me is you're inviting me out on Saturday for pizza, but then you're telling me all these other things that sound great that are not pizza. Now here's something that really jumped out at me. Not too many people have a testimonial from Frank Sinatra. Now granted, it immediately dates the testimonial, but hello, I mean, it's a really, really interesting testimonial. Let's see. We go back to the offer here, and we have it's a really interesting and compelling offer, but I do have some questions about that I'll bring up in a second. And the PS is nice here. It's kind of like it opens up the idea of different ways to experience the restaurant once you've decided that you like it. And it's kind of an assumptive close that, hey, you're going to like this, and because you like it so much, you're actually going to want to come back over and over again. Okay, so in all those senses, this letter was pretty well executed, and frankly, if I was Joe, I would probably respond to it. I mean, if I wasn't able to respond to it for this Saturday, I would say, can I take a rain check? Can we schedule this for a different day? Because this is really interesting and compelling. But my first and biggest question here is this scalable? Because when I read this, it reads like a letter from one person to another, who is known, who has a pre-existing relationship. I mean, even in that first sentence, the opening line, you keep telling me that there's no place for Italian food near you that has great food service and ambiance. I mean, it's such an intimate detail out of somebody's relationship that it just feels like it's not. It immediately makes this a not very scalable piece of copy. It would be hard to come up with an opening line that is as detailed for 100 people, 1,000 people. So I would really consider that to be a limitation of this letter, which kind of points to a limitation that exists in the offer too, because this feels like a really one-on-one type situation. I wonder, as I think about this, if I'm in the position of marketing this restaurant, how could I create a similar experience, but that is different and works for a bigger, broader audience. So what I might do is I might kind of pull back focus and say, okay, maybe in my community here in the San Fernando Valley, there are 100 decision makers that I really like, 100 influential community members, community leaders, business leaders in the area, cultural leaders in the area, people that are, really paid attention to. And what I might do is I might actually create some sort of really unique experience for those people. And when I'm thinking of this, I think of it as like a group or a mastermind dinner. So let's see. When I scroll down, there's this idea of where is it? Families with youngsters, teenagers, newlyweds, and grandparents all sat together at long tables, laughing, joking, and good-natured kidding. You talk about having a VIP table set up for Saturday night. What if you were to do this, like, to do an exclusive invitation that goes out to maybe 50 community members, and what you're doing is you're hosting a special group dinner, a special mastermind dinner of community leaders, and they have a spot at the table that is available to them if they're one of the first 10 that reply, or something like that. Like you have a VIP table for the show, and it's going to be there's 10 seats around the table, or there's 12 seats around the table, but this letter is going out to 100 people that were hand selected because of their place of distinction in the local community, and that you would really like to treat them to dinner at the restaurant. And that I think is would immediately make this a bit more scalable, while also making it have this kind of exclusivity. Alternatively, if you want to make this available to do on a much more mass market basis, a good kind of new customer offer for a lot of restaurants is the your date eats free, or you buy one get one free. However you want to position that, because obviously you're not going to be able to personally invite every single person in the San Fernando Valley and have this kind of like one-on-one personal dinner with every person in the area. And maybe this letter and this offer works great. The one that's in the letter right now, maybe that works great for a few select people that you would like to host for this kind of personal dinner. But it's really not a scalable offer. I mean, I think at one point I read here that you were going to pick them up. I'll come by for you at 7. It's not even going to meet you there. So are you going to pick them up in a limo? Or are you going to pick them up in a town car? Are you going to pick them? How are you going to pick them up? How do you turn this into a profitable sales letter? I mean, if you're just giving away dinner, obviously the idea is that they're going to come back over and over again, and you're going to make your profits the second, third, fourth, fifth time that they come back. But that's, you have to have very deep pockets to be able to support that as a customer acquisition strategy on an ongoing basis. And just because you give somebody free dinner doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to come back. So you might be better off actually, in the long run, coming up with some kind of offer that's going to get lower response overall, but it's going to have, number one, it's going to be scalable to a much broader audience, and number two, it's going to be something that where you get somebody in the habit of coming in and spending money. So a your date eats free meal, that sort of thing is a great way to get people coming and spending money, but not but not having to pay full price, having a reason to come out. So if you bring in this letter on Saturday night, your date's going to eat free, or you get free appetizers and desserts, one free appetizer and one free dessert with every entree, that sort of thing. So finding a way to make this much more scalable is really my biggest critique here. There are a couple things, if this place has been such a celebrity haunt, then I think that's actually something worth actually making the lead, because a lot of pizza places, a lot of Italian places can claim, recipe from the old country. They can claim best pizza. They can claim this. They can claim that. Great food service and ambiance. These are kind of, to some degree, very generic claims about restaurants and about Italian restaurants in particular. But to be able to put Frank Sinatra, Bob Hope, Debbie Reynolds, to be able to put these people at the top, and to be able to say that you this Saturday night you can have the same experience, the same dining experience that Frank Sinatra was referring to when he called us the best Italian restaurant in the Valley. That's the kind of stuff that if you pair Frank Sinatra's testimonial with a current testimonial at the top, then that it immediately makes the message feel a lot more unique, and it makes the restaurant feel a lot more unique. The other challenge that I had as I was reading through this, I guess I had a couple stumbles, and there's a couple little what look like maybe typos in here, and some of it may have been just me stumbling, and some of it may have been typos. I mostly didn't notice them on my first read through, and your prospects mostly wouldn't notice them on their first read through. But aside from cleaning those up, I think there was one thing here where, as I was reading, there was kind of this it raised the objection of, but what's in it for me? So when I'm reading and you're talking about 70 years ago, this restaurant, the origins of this restaurant, for the second half of the first page, and for the first half of the second page, all the way up to this "What About Today" subhead, I started to feel like it was too much in the past and not enough about what my experience was going to be. And I do recognize that you brought it around here, that the writer brought it around here, but there is the potential to lose readers in that. So it would be a calculated risk to run it like it is. It may work very well. I think that the way that it's done is pretty good. But it's also possible that you would actually improve response by focusing more on what it's like today, or specifically setting up the premise that, when I talk about the experience that Frank Sinatra had coming into the restaurant, I want you to understand that this is the same experience that you're going to have today. And the origins of the restaurant are very interesting, but to focus on what the customer is going to get in their experience of eating there is a little more valuable. So this, that's my kind of first take on this in a limited length of time. Like I said, I think that this is a pretty good letter. And that, frankly, if I were Joe, the person that this is addressed to, and I knew this rich guy who signed it, and I got this letter, and maybe I'd had this initial conversation, complaining about, I just haven't found an Italian restaurant that really excites me, then I think that, I would be all over this. But that's a lot of assumptions and a lot of limitations built into this letter from the beginning. And I think that it would benefit quite a bit from thinking about how to create this in a much more scalable way. I think that that's the biggest opportunity for improvement with this particular piece of copy. So I hope you found this helpful, and thank you for watching.